the run. What run did you guys
West
call that?
Camino Cielo, my little local track.
Say it again.
West Camino Cielo.
That's pretty Spanish.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty to drive.
You know, I should know. You know, we're surrounded by Spain.
Yeah.
Every town, every street, every road is named in Spanish.
Yeah.
And yet we're saying, go home.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Who am I looking at?
John.
Drawn.
Shin.
That's Chin.
Shin.
Chin Watanabe.
Yeah, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to
You know,
meet
that
you.
reminds me, I was in Japan a couple of times. I think you were too.
Watanabe is a very common last name, you know. It's like a Smith. Yeah.
Smith.
Yeah.
I'm Eddie.
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 That's Eddie is a friend.
Yeah.
Tibor.
You better know that guy.
He used to pull my teeth.
How long have you guys known each other?
25 years.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow.
Yeah, at least.
You know, he's got a huge story. He climbed over mountains to get away from the country he was in. How about that?
Yeah.
Yep.
We've never had to do that.
Nope.
I admired that. And he found what he wanted. He came across the border, and here's this woman waiting for him. And they came here and had him.
I know, yeah.
That's awesome.
You should ask her about that now, but that's a different story. They've been locked up together a little long.
I don't know. To me, it's a heroic story.
Oh, it is.
It's all about World War II.
After World War II, yeah.
You know, I did a lot of messing around at World War II. And the whole thing about World War II was that we were the victors. We were the guys that won. And so all the women who had children wanted their babies to be made love to by Americans. And so they could be taken to America. Then mom and dad could be taken to America.
Their babies, their daughters.
Well, I don't know. I spent a lot of time doing stuff. I was in the Navy. And what are you saying, Winnie? She's an interruption.
So, did you look at the car? What did you think? Did we get close for you? Does it remind you of the old Goldie?
Old Goldie is a memory that's...
I know.
You know what I screwed up? I didn't put a transmission.
Yep. Yes.
That's
Okay.
all. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I had to do, and I would have won the race.
Yeah.
I was so far ahead of the guys that won, and they came along 45 minutes later and found me sitting there with a broken transmission mount.
Huh.
I'm so stupid. I should have known, because it happened also in Old Red.
Yeah.
The same thing. You can't go up and down Waha without a transmission mount, because something's going to give. And I was, I don't know, in love with myself, probably. Who's to say? What
Well, we
else
got
you
one
want
on there for you.
Yep.
Sorry?
We got one on there for you.
Good. I'm sure you do.
That transmission's not budging.
How many buggies you got? Oh, 3.
We all came in buggies. There's no real cars on this run.
No real cars.
We took Shin and Eddie and gave them the keys, and they drove, and we drove.
Yeah, it was
and
fun. Yeah.
We did a little buggy run. I was waiting for the moment to do that. Yeah.
I looked at it. I've looked at it many times.
Yeah. It's got all the stickers now from when you raced it. The Les's, auto salvage, and you got the Meyers Manx on the door now. It's all stickered up.
You mean Les's Auto Salvage?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that what it is? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go over here.
We can either move it or you can back up.
No. Look who's on the side.
What do you think? Does it at least look close?
It hurts my heart. It reminds me of a long time ago. God, what a beautiful color. You know who put number 1 on it?
Please tell us.
the guys that put on the race. That was some sort of tipping their hat to me.
Mm-hmm.
This was all hand painted by a guy that was very good at it. Look at that. I can't read, I'm just looking like it.
It's Duran and my names.
Yeah.
We wanted to put your name on it, but we figured you didn't want to race next year.
You're right. I'm too old. Boy, we didn't have all this stuff.
No, we had to make Nora happy.
That's okay.
Which, yeah, it's for our safety.
Who's in charge of Nora?
Mike Perlman.
Well, he says so.
Just talked to him last week.
This is good. Oh, this is something we didn't have.
Nope. But does this?
Or that.
You had that on the original Goldie.
Yeah, we did have, but it was here somewhere. God, this thing's totally complete, isn't it?
It is.
It's built to start and finish the Mexican 1000.
I hope I'm there.
We think you will be.
These things, I hope you never have to use them.
Yeah, I agree.
I gotta sit down again. You couldn't have done a better job.
Well, we did it in honor of you, Bruce. This car deserves to finish that race, and that's what we plan on doing.
Please let it. Please, transmission mount, hang on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Isn't that dumb? Just a simple thing to do. Would have been taken an afternoon, and I was so far ahead of the guys that won.
Hindsight.
But that's the first thing they did. They put a transmission mount in their car.
So you taught him something.
You have a way to teach something.
Yeah, that's for sure. So what's it like? Is it like going back in time, Bruce? Seeing this?
I'll let these guys do what they want to.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Every morning in the shower I do that.
Yeah.
I go back in time.
What's one of those times that's probably the most memorable?
I crashed in a toad
Oh wow.
and I broke both my legs,
Oh my gosh.
and I wind up in a hospital in Costa Mesa. And the doctor walks in. He says, "I'm Dr. Elmer Tomlinson. And nurse, get those cigarettes out of here." I said, "No, they're my cigarettes."
In the hospital.
Yeah. And every day he came in and I went, "No, they're my cigarettes." And for 3 weeks he did that. He finally walked in with a book. It showed a picture of a lung that had been smoked, and it was about the color of those tires.
Wow.
And then a picture of a baby's ass, like this. And he says, "If you're my doctor, if I'm your doctor, you're not my patient if you smoke."
Wow.
And I said, "I'll never smoke again," and I never did.
Wow.
How long ago was that? See, now why? I was probably 40 years old. I'd smoked for 20 years. And I I don't know why today you can't do that to a young guy that's druggy. Why is it you can't do that? Because he thinks he knows everything. My father had a wonderful saying. He said, "I'm not young enough to know everything." Isn't that cute?
I like that. I like that.
And he was so right. Because when you're young, I guess you just think you know,
Yeah.
but you don't.
Yeah.
Your brain isn't done until it's about 25 or 6.
Hmm.
And they're only about 18 or 20. It's sad, isn't it?
It is interesting because I remember when I was younger and I always felt like my dad didn't know what he was talking about. And now looking back at everything that he did tell me, I think to myself, boy, he was right. He knew. And now I'm seeing it with my son. He thinks he knows everything. And I think to myself, well, we'll see when he finally figures it out that no, he doesn't. So, yeah.
Well, that's just life, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't know where you're supposed to give up and say, go do your young thing. You're stupid, but go ahead and do it.
Learn the hard way, right? I guess. That's how a lot of people have to do
Well,
it.
you know, to learn the hard way is stupid. Why don't you listen to the doctor? He showed you a picture, a black lung and a white lung.
Mhm.
The black lung is from smoking. I don't want a black lung. I probably had one,
Mhm.
but that was so long ago, it's probably cleaned itself up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm 94.
Yeah. No, it's impressive. It's impressive. That's awesome.
You're taking a lot of pictures.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They did such a wonderful job. Duran, you must have been down here a lot.
I was.
Yeah.
Did you ever bring your wife?
Nope. Not for this. She knew she wouldn't.
Why did we all laugh?
They don't, because they don't enjoy it the way we do. They don't understand
The long nights and things like that in the garage.
Yeah.
And we'd start at 6 a.m. and work till sometimes 1 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Go to bed and wake up to fresh coffee and do it again 6 a.m. until it was time to go home.
That sounds fun.
And we moved the car a couple different times from
John,
his
I
house
wanna-
to my
I want
house.
to,
Bruce was there visiting
apologize
us.
a little bit. The other day we were talking in my shop, and I got everything. There's every kind of welding there, 4 or 5 kinds. And I started to give you something, one of the welders or something, and then I took it back. I have a grandson,
Jagger, yeah.
Jagger. And so I made a deal to take all the welding gear
Good.
and give it to him if he'll go to a welding school and get a piece of paper that says he's a welder.
Nice.
If he does that, he can have all that welding gear. So I took it back from you.
I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that's a great way to motivate our youth and get them involved.
Let's hope that it motivates.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with him if he doesn't take it?
Right.
And I've talked to him quite a bit
Yeah.
about that. So I hope he does.
Well,
Black would work. I think it was black.
We're going to ask you to do us a huge favor.
go.
Would you mind signing the hood of Goldie too for us?
Why not?
Yeah. Miguel brought out a stool for you and he's getting a pen. And we'd be honored if you would sign the car for
He
us.
knows me well, doesn't he? He brings a stool and everything.
It would mean a lot to us if you would do that.
You know, he's been with us 20 years
Wow.
Oh,
or more. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like the Rock of Gibraltar around here.
Miguel is very good.
I don't know how we'd get by without him.
That's awesome.
See, he's a durable person.
Yep.
He's a person that does exactly what you'd want him to do, and that's that. Sure. He's gone to get the stool.
But he's got the stool, he's going to get a pen. We had a pen somehow in the off-roading expedition we just
You
did.
want a wide pen.
It's gone, so we're getting another one.
Bruce, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
during all the years when you were developing, you know, this amazing icon of a dune buggy, what was your driving force? What kept you motivated on a daily basis?
You know, when I was young, I didn't do what the American does, go for the pot of gold. I wasn't aiming at money. I went out into the world. I wanted to experience a thing like a huge breaking wave in the middle of the ocean. And I found all those things. I became a sailor, and I sailed with a man that had started being a sailor at 7.
Oh my gosh.
He went to sea when he was 7.
Wow.
And he did everything. And I wanted to imitate him. Just get the experience. The experience. The experience was, for me, what I wanted. It wasn't about money. I never had my nose on money. And so I collected some talent from my mother. She was a famous singer. And she was painted and drew, and I can draw. So I wound up being a teacher in an art school when I was in my early 20s. Here I am, I'm drawing. And pretty soon behind me is half a dozen kids from this, and pretty soon the teacher, and he whispers in my ear, he says, "What are you doing Tuesday night? Can you run my class for me?" So I became a student teacher. I didn't do it very long enough to know that I didn't want to be a teacher about the rest of that year. And that's it. After that I went to sea with Oli. Oli had, well, you know, a cabin boy in the days of sail went to the captain and said, "I want to be a cabin boy," and he was 8 years old.
Oh my gosh.
That's when 8 years was the number for cabin boys, but he was only 6, and the captain said, "How old are you, son?" He says, "I'm 6, sir. Go back to your mother." Well, when he was 7, his mother said, "Take him. He's okay." So he became a sailor at 7. He went around the horn when he was 8.
Oh my gosh.
He did everything in the days of sail. He rode them, you know, when the ship was dismasted, there's people in the rigging, and they all went into the sea, and he was one of them, and he crawled back on the ship while in the storm. You know that everybody in the rigging was under 18? They're all schoolboys, because they wanted to be sailors at 8, and they wound up in the rigging because they're young and strong, and they went up and down and when the ship was dismasted, they went into the sea and they crawled back on board. He'd done that twice. He'd worked in the diamond mines in Africa. He'd walked around South America.
Oh my gosh.
He'd sailed everywhere in the world, and I wanted to be like that. That's why I came home and I didn't think about money. I just wanted the experience. Well, I've got some artistic talent, and I invented this shape. And I was married to Shirley then. Shirley worked at Road and Track magazine, and Road and Track had a lot of muscle. And when I set a record beating the motorcycles, Road and Track had given me a little bit of money investment. They wanted to collect, they wanted to protect their investment. So they made a noise that told us, the world, the whole world. I mean, every news service, every service in this was all taken care of by Road and Track. And you know what happened? Suddenly there was 78 people, teams, world famous teams in 1971. And that's the way Road and Track was started, by the fact that they had a small investment in Meyers Manx.
Wow.
And my wife told them, "Bruce is worried about your investment," and said, "We'll take care of it." And they advertised to the whole world. And so the whole world came and started off-road racing. So that's the way it started. I didn't start it. I started it by them starting it. So anyway, these are inside stories. It's all in my book.
No, I love it. I love it. I got to tell you, you know, it's impressive seeing the joy that your invention has brought to so many people. And I saw an interview with you and Jay Leno, and I remember you telling Jay that you had something in common where he made people laugh and you like to make people smile. And I'll tell you, just a little bit ago when we went up the mountain here, driving one of these, I mean, here we are years later and enjoying it. The smiles, the laughter, the fun. It's I can't thank you enough for what you've done and what you brought.
Thank you for telling me that, because I didn't know that I was touching something inside people when I did that. And Road and Track saw it, and they advertised it and put me in the magazines and all that. They started off-road racing, and it was all because they recognized art. See, they have a huge art department. So did hotVWs.
Mm-hmm.
Any magazine has an art department, and they recognize the art.
Oh yeah.
And so they take it and run with it. So I'm very lucky that I touched people somewhere in here.
Well, I think we're the ones that are definitely lucky, and especially with the fact that you pursued your dream. And I think that's a huge lesson for everyone, that it's not about money, it's not about notoriety, it's about doing what you want to do and actually pursuing, as you put it, you know, an experience.
Thank you very much.
And it's fantastic. So
I don't know how to say thank you so much.
No, thank you. You're very welcome.
Because somehow I did that without realizing it.
Yeah.
You know, I guess you just follow your own feelings. I'm musical. My mom was a singer,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to play a lot and all that stuff. And all that fun, if you're a fun guy, the fun comes out in whatever you do.
Right.
I'm sorry about that thing.
No, I think it's fantastic.
Where are you from?
Me? I'm actually from Southern California here. So I grew up with Volkswagens, and in fact, I had my own Manx up until about 4 years ago. So I've had my fair share of fun.
Wait a minute.
So.
What do you mean 4 years ago?
Oh,
Yeah, we're trying to influence him. We let him drive the cars today.
Yeah, they
so.
definitely influenced me. So I'm still in contact with the gentleman who has it. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to probably have to go ahead and get another one.
I think you need one.
I think so. I think
You
so.
know, you heard we just sold the company,
Yes.
and it's going to be a monster. Oh, the guys in it, they're really something. And the building they're moving into is 5 times as big as that.
wow.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
That's great to
yes,
hear
it
that.
is,
Yeah.
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 And they're
That's
going to
the
have every
encouragement
kind of
from
dune
that,
buggy.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, we're encouraged just because of the fact that the legacy continues. And I'll tell you, before today, I didn't know these gentlemen. And because of your invention, it brought us over here to see it, to meet them. And I could tell you right now with confidence that we're going to have a long-time friendship because of this. And so it's, I'll tell you, it's definitely been one heck of a fun day. Even right now, coming up the road, there was construction, and all the guys that were working on the side of the road
people
took
got
the time
excited.
to stop, put their signs down, and give us thumbs up, peace signs. I mean, it's awesome.
You know, you ought to drive to San Francisco.
Let's go.
All we have to do is top them off. They're all ready. I got 5 days off.
You know, what do they call it? Monterey Car Week. And it's monstrous. And we went up there with some of these, and I had Jagger with me. And all the way it was this, and tooting horns. All the way. Everybody's tooting horns. They just said it makes them happy.
Yeah. Definitely does. No, that's fantastic.
So I have a question for you, Bruce. When I'm new to the hobby, obviously. I've been into it just about 4 years, and I'm this deep into it now. It's silly. When I look at, and I'm going to reference the hotVWs Magazine of 1967, Goldie's on the cover.
Yeah.
In a street trim. with the Porsche engine, and it's a beautiful car. What made you transition from that street car into Goldie the race car for the Mexican 1000?
Well, there's all kinds of Manxes, and you can play that game any way you like, as long as it's a Meyers Manx. It's not hard to do. You know, changing hubcaps and stuff like that, or an engine, is not a hard thing. It's just a matter of taste. I guess there were so many people doing it, and you look at all around and you see the things you like. Why not? That's all.
Because you removed the windshield and you took the top off, and you even switched the engine out. If I remember the story correctly, you removed the Porsche 356 engine and put a Volkswagen in, right?
Yeah, I had two Porsches. I had a 356 bent window, and then I had a later one, a 68, and I loved them, of course. And I stole from them. Underneath the back end of Old Red is a Porsche hoop.
Oh.
It touches the frame, and it goes down and hangs the transmission. It's called a Porsche hoop. That's the way early Porsches were made.
Okay.
They don't do that anymore, but now I'm building one out in the back, and I'm not sure how the Porsche hoop is, because I kind of forgot. I'm 84. Pardon me, 94.
You're still young.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You can't help but remember the things you loved when you were young. The girls, the surfing.
I like how you say the girls first. Everything else kind of...
I can't help it.
No.
I'm a very natural, emotional guy. I don't mind crying.
No.
And
Nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
seeing tears among men. I had a huge experience I was a gunner on an aircraft carrier, the Bunker Hill. And the Bunker Hill was hit by kamikazes. That's what I did. I shot down kamikazes. Go away. That's the sound of airplanes. I was a gunner on an open mount, and I shot 6 months of shooting down kamikazes. One day, our radio was not on the right frequency, and 2 kamikazes came down. We had 17 airplanes with their engines running, and they knocked them all in the sea and killed a lot of people. And I went over the side, and the only guy that I met was my division commander. He says, "Myers, where's the rest of them?" I said, "I don't know." Well, it turns out they're mostly dead. I spent 3 weeks with him. We gave up saluting. And his name became Lou, and my name became Sailor. And we talked to each other that way. And for 3 weeks, we pulled dead people out of places. You know what? I have a terrible memory of that. You know what I did? I only shut their eyes and made them smile. That only worked for about 3 days, because then the bad disease moves in. And so I wasn't able to shut their eyes anymore. And I helped with 400 dead guys. And I was very emotional. I wanted them to go to heaven. And if you don't have your eyes shut and you smile, it's pretty hard to get to heaven. See, I was 18 years old, and I believed all these things, and I still do actually. And giving yourself nothing more than shutting their eyes and then making them smile was what I did. And then about 4 days later, it was all over because this thing set, and I couldn't shut their eyes anymore. And when there was a guy that worked for the dentist had to have the teeth to identify them because there wasn't any name. There was a guy with a big knife, and he cut their cheeks, and he put his foot and he opened their mouth. I couldn't believe him. And then they went into the sea. And so I found myself in a position of not wanting to be there, but I had to be. Bearing 400 men is something I wanted to make them only smile. Why was I like that? I was like this. I wanted smiles. I didn't want anything else. I guess I'm still trying to answer that question.
Yeah, but you're still putting smiles on people's faces.
Maybe that's it. When I came home on my 30-day leave, my mother and father had a huge dinner for me to celebrate me. And they wanted me to tell his stories. And I started talking, and then I started crying, and I couldn't tell the story. And they had to take me away. And there wasn't any story to be told because I was all in tears. So I was a quaking heap. You know, just a mess. So that's my war story, you guys. I was right in the thick of it, wasn't I?
Yeah.
But I was a good swimmer. See, I've been a lifeguard, LA County lifeguard, and they teach you things. Give me your hand. If I turn it like that, you'll let go. If I turn it like that, you let go. That's what when anybody grabs you, turn their hand, they just let go. That's a lifeguard trick.
Oh.
Interesting.
It keeps you from getting drowned. But I took off my lifeboat vest and I gave it to him. Then I could swim better anyway. So I swam up to a pilot that was bobbing up and down. All the skin was hanging from the quick of his nails down. And he was dazed. He'd been knocked into the sea by the airplane. And I dragged him. I hooked my toes in his jacket, and I did the Australian crawl over to the destroyer, and I took him over there and let him go. And I swam up to the side of the ship, and there was a guy taking pictures, a pilot. He says, "No," they're yelling at him, "Come on up here." "No, I got to get this guy." And I climbed up, and when I went over the side, they gave me a shot of brandy. Somebody said that doesn't happen in the Navy anymore. There's no more brandy.
Probably not.
And 2 days later, I was back on board the ship.
Wow.
The ship had burned all of its hangar deck. The whole hangar deck had this much gasoline because an explosion had broken the gasoline that they put in the airplanes. And it was all over the hangar deck. And so the captain of the ship, he turned the ship. The ship would do 39 miles an hour.
That's fast.
That's pretty fast.
Really fast.
And he turned it way over here, and all the gasoline went out the side. And he put out the fire by doing that. And then we started pulling bodies out of it. God, why am I telling you all
Yeah,
this
we
shit?
sure thank you for your service, though.
Yeah.
We need to bring up the mood now. And
I know, huh?
No, it's just my experience. I went out to find experience. I sure found it, didn't I?
Yeah, you definitely did. I think you got more than what you bargained for.
Yeah.
And where, not to come up with another story, but where were you? Were you in the South? So you were in the South Pacific?
I was in the Japan Sea.
Okay.
That's right next to Tokyo. He was probably a little boy.
My father actually was in the Navy. When I heard that you were in the Navy in World War II, now my dad's passed on, but he was in the South Pacific as well, in the Navy. So yeah.
I wonder what ship.
I can't remember right now off the top of my head.
Doesn't
But,
matter. It was the biggest force the Navy has ever put together.
oh yeah.
If you were up 10,000 feet, you couldn't see the edge of them. They went over the horizon. And I was on the one that was the leader,
Which ship was that?
the Bunker Hill.
The Bunker Hill. Okay. That's awesome.
Anyway,
All right.
there's my sea story.
No, thank you, and like John said, thank you for your service. It's unbelievable how much you've experienced in your lifetime, and just I'll tell you, I mean, not only from just what you've experienced, but from serving others, serving your country, serving others, and still, here we are today, present day. You're still making us happy. So very, very cool. And I think someone over here would definitely like to see a bigger smile with your name on the hood, huh?
Oh, sure.
Where's that pin?
I've got a pen right here.
Let's go do it.
Get in over here. I'm not sure how you want to sit. You need a hand or you good? Okay. Right. No, I want to keep it on the hood, so I'm thinking somewhere like right around in this area. If you're comfortable in that spot,
Yes.
you want the lid off?
Yeah.
There you go, sir. Nice big fat Sharpie, and they tell me it's brand new.
Is that good?
Beautiful. Thank you, Bruce. Wow, outstanding.
With a smile.
Yeah.
Very nice. Hold on, one more picture.
Come on.
Get in there, get in there.
Come on.
Is there a way we could do it that we're a little bit maybe on each side of the car and him in the front or something?
Go back. Yeah. Keep the distance.
You want the mask on or what?
I must off.
Yeah, I think you guys are far enough. Okay. What made you? Now I heard that you're an avid surfer.
You know, who was the very first surfboard maker? Dale Velzy. Who was the guy that was worked at his side?
Really? Wow.
He was the first guy to put fiberglass on a surfboard. I go down here there's a surf shop down here. I buy some stuff now and then. And I always tell them that story. They never forget. Here he comes, guys.
That is fantastic. Now I've got a question for you. I'm wondering, do you remember Joe Quigg?
Oh God, I knew him well.
Did you?
Oh sure.
Okay. So that was the surfboard that I learned to surf on.
Really?
It's a 9'6", and gosh, it was interesting
At
because
Malibu?
no, in Newport at Blackie's.
Oh, okay.
And it was interesting because there was a day that I went surfing, and I was the first one out early in the morning. I was probably breaking about 3 to 4 foot, and I thought, I'm the only guy out here. This is wild. So I grabbed my log and I went out there and paddled out by the pier. And while I'm out there, I noticed that there's some other guys that are gonna go ahead and suit up and come out. And I thought, oh, never fail. Someone's gonna come right next to me. This guy paddles out and he's coming toward me, and he's an older gentleman, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what does he want? And so as he gets closer, we greet each other, good morning, and he asks me, he said, what kind of board is that? And I said, oh, it's an old Quigg. And he goes, huh. And he said, what number is it? And it had a number, and I told him, I said, oh, it's 1737. And he looked at me and he just kind of shook his head and he said, I shaped that board. And I said, you're Joe Quigg? And he said, no, I'm not. And he said, but I shaped for him for many, many years. And so he asked me, he said, would you mind if I take it for a spin? And I said, here you go. And so I gave him the board. He gave me his board. And he took off on this wave. He took off on the left. And you'd think that he had been born with this board attached to his feet. He just rode the nicest wave. And I was just watching him go. And he kicked out over the wave, paddled out, gave me the board, and said, thanks for the ride. And then that was it. He just split. He was gone. And then when I went back onto the beach, never saw him, didn't see where he went. It was almost like a ghost. And I thought, you know what? I'm done. I'm stoked. I'm done for the day. It was so good.
That was built on 30th Street. His shop was across the alley on 29th Street. I was in and out of his shop all the time.
Really?
Joe Quigg and I were friends.
That's so neat. That is really neat. Yeah, not too many people know about Joe.
I'm sorry?
Not too many people knew about Joe Quigg when I would tell them. So that's fantastic that obviously you know quite well.
You know, I just ran into, what's his name? Little dinky guy. And I said, what is your name? And he goes, M-E, how do you spell M-I-C-K-E-Y?
Mickey Dora?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mickey, and then he spelled the last of his name. What's his Mickey? And he sang it.
Huh.
That was.
Would Winnie know? You want me to ask her real quick?
Does she what?
Would Winnie know the name?
No.
Okay.
No, she's too young. She's only 70.
But he was a surfer?
Mickey Munoz.
Oh, that's so funny. I was just about to say Mickey Munoz.
Really? M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-U-N-O-Z. That's the way he tells you who he is.
Okay.
He sings it.
It's like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny.
M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-U-N-O-Z. Mickey Munoz. No, I've known him since, God, I don't know, long ago.
Wow.
50 years, I guess.
Huh.
He surfs on the east side of Baja, down at the Cape.
Huh.
He has a house down there.
Wow.
But he comes up here in the wintertime. Got a girlfriend or something up there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's 80-something years old, and
Oh my gosh.
he says, I surf every day.
Wow. That's
He's
awesome.
in good shape.
Yeah, you'd have to be.
Well, total surfing. Well, anyway, I've told a lot of stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
It's
Always
been an
appreciate
honor.
your time.
Yeah, it's so great, and thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're in Watanabe, huh?
Watanabe, yes.
I like that name. Watanabe.
That's great. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, thank
so
you,
much.
Bruce. Yeah, it was great to meet you.
The Dune buggy is a love affair with a family.